the summer of 2013. The Motorola Google acquisition had closed, and rumours were spread all over the internet that Motorola and Google were developing a device, initially known as the X phone. But on August 1st, 2013, Motorola revealed the long-awaited device called the Moto X. However, it had only been released to the US on the major carriers like AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, and etc. Anyway, 6 months later, on February 1st, 2014, the Moto X made its official debut to the UK and Europe. So after nearly 4 weeks of usage, it's finally time to give my review of the UK edition Moto X. Let's get started with this, shall we? Let's start this review off with the hardware. The design of the Moto X sits very comfortably in hand, with a soft touch back and a dimple, which can feel quite addictive at times. I'm quite glad to see that the Moto X has a curved back, which takes some cues from the iPhone 3GS and its design, which makes using the Moto X enjoyable. And the water-resistant nano coating makes the phone survive in the occasional splashes and rain. The front is dominated by a 4.7-inch AMOLED screen, which is neither too big or too small, and has a resolution of 1280 by 720 and a pixel density of 316 pixels per inch. Now the specs are what make this phone interesting. It features a dual-core Snapdragon S4 Pro processor running at 1.7 GHz and features 3 other cores for graphics, contextual computing, and natural language processing. The entire arrangement is called the XA Mobile Computing System, which is backed up by 2 GB of RAM and 16 or 32 gigs of storage. The reason for these specs is because Motorola is targeting this phone a little bit differently to the average consumer, rather than a spec sheet like loads of other Android phones out there. In terms of benchmarks, the Moto X performed quite well, actually. Apps like 3D Mark in the Ice Storm Extreme setting got a score of 73.94, and everyone's favourite classic benchmarking app, Quadrat Standard, got a good score of 82.02. All the nerdy stuff aside, this means that games like Asphalt 8 perform quite well on the Moto X, and the speaker, although small one on the back, will get the job done in most instances.
While I take totes, others fanboys smoke as it floats all over the web. The undead subhumans consuming the booze that the brands have been brewing. The illusion of
On the first boot of the software on the Moto X, it looks almost like stock Android, KitKat 4.4.2 to be precise. But Motorola has added a few customizations, which aim to make the phone more useful to the everyday consumer. One of the most useful of which is active notifications. It uses the phone's contextual awareness to detect if the phone's been taken out of a pocket or flipped to the front, and shows the summary of the notifications that have been received to the phone, allowing you to either act on them or unlock the phone as usual. This feature can be quite useful, making up for the lack of a notification light. Sort of. Another feature, which can be less handy depending on your taste, is touchless control. This uses the natural language processor to keep listening for a command, so if the phone's on standby, in a pocket, or on a table, it will wake up until you say, "Okay Google now." Using this feature will allow you to set alarms, check for weather forecasts, sport news, and etc. So for example, if you ask it, "Set an alarm for 6 AM tomorrow morning," it will go ahead and set it automatically for you. There are a few quirks about it. The key phrase can be a bit cumbersome at times, and it can take a while for it to give an answer back, which can feel a little bit unnatural.
The Empire State Building is 381 meters tall.
And then we come to the camera. Motorola made a big deal of the 10 megapixel clear pixel camera at the New York launch event, which features an RGBC pixel arrangement to let more lighter than other cameras and a faster shutter speed for less motion blur. One of the unique things of the camera software is the fact that you can do this very weird shake gesture to open the camera quickly, which is handy but doesn't work all the time. The interface is very simple and clean. With a swipe to the left, you can change a few settings on the camera like HDR, flash, slow motion, panorama, and a few more. The only buttons visible in the viewfinder are an option to toggle the video camera and one to switch to the front-facing camera. But where's the shutter button? Well, you can tap anywhere on the screen to take a photo, and hold it down to take a series of burst photos. You can even take photos while recording video, which is nice. But the output of the photos, well, they're hit or miss. In outdoor scenery, the camera can produce some sharp and blur-free shots, but the colours are washed out and muted. Some shots even come out overexposed, and low light, although a bit brighter than other camera phones, suffer from poor colour reproduction and loads of noise. I mean, just loads of noise, really. The same problems translate over to video performance, though it does slightly a better job in this department, with autofocus quick to changes in lighting conditions and sharp detail in objects. And there's a 720p 60 frame per second option for slow motion capture, which can be quite fun to play around with. Overall, the camera experience is a bit inconsistent in the software and overall result. Although the embedded battery on the Moto X is quite small at 2200 mAh, it does pretty well in testing. I was consistently able to get a day's usage from the Moto X, ranging from moderate to heavy use, which is pretty impressive considering the size of it. But the only thing that lets it down is the charging time. It can take many hours for the Moto X to charge from 0 to 100% most of the time, which can get a little bit annoying. For a flagship device sold by Motorola, the Moto X almost delivers with a clean, almost stock build of Android in hardware that's very comfortable to hold, and a very good voice calling experience. I think the Moto X shouldn't be ignored if you're looking for a no-nonsense smartphone in a very comfortable body. The price for the SIM-free Moto X may sound a bit expensive, when for about £10 more, you can buy something like the LG G2, which is a better processor, better camera, and a bigger screen. But if you're looking for a device that is very pocketable, comfortable, and very special, the Moto X will be the device for you. Now for the Moto X service, which is only available in the US as of this video, should hopefully be coming soon to the UK and Europe. Now, the Moto X Plus 1, or Moto X2 or whatever it's going to be called, which will be made with Lenovo this time, as they brought out Motorola, will probably be better. But for right now, this Moto X is a pretty good deal. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to my channel to see more videos in the future. And you can follow me on Twitter to hear about upcoming videos. For now, all I have to say is thanks for watching this video. Although the embedded battery on the Moto X is small. Let's try it again.
Okay, Google, now, what's the capital?
The reason for these specs is because Motorola is targeting this phone to the average which makes using the Moto X enjoyable. Actually, let's try to hold it again. Kind of messed up a little